9:51 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2/15, 2014. We are going to cover ICPT. And out of the 32 plus years I've been around, I have never seen a biotech stock have the kind of ranges that ICPT has. And this is a weekly chart right here. The movement on this calendar week, which was 1/5 of 2014, that price range was $431.71 on a weekly movement. There is nothing out here that has done that. No. Not Google, not Priceline, not any of them. None of them. And I also will tell you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this is the place to go long and to go short. And yes, I'll be the first one to admit it, that you can be intimidated by that volatility. And I wouldn't care how long you've been around or how many years you've been trading, that's going to happen in this name. So basically, I'm going to also cover this is a weekly movement. So you got 431 points, and you got a monthly consolidation here. Another 4 weeks, rectangular consolidation. This is at short-term resistance level. And then we get into the daily levels on ICPT. So basically, when we take a look here, this was where it gapped. Then it gapped another day and made the high up here at 497. That's the high of that daily bar. Down on the lower end, though, we can clearly see that we had consolidated for quite a few days, and this is what it looks like before making another daily breakout. So when you have a daily consolidation, whether it's this name or any of them, either you're going to break out to the upside or down to the reversal to the downside. So this particular move in this name is probably one of the most strongest stocks year to date in calendar 2014 than any other period of time. And not only that, we haven't seen this kind of move. I mean, even in 1999, we didn't see movements. So what I would like to give you the key focus was that this rectangular consolidation, the lower end of that was on 1/27 of 2014. And on 1/27 of 2014, the following happened. We knew that a big move was going to come. They got trapped at $497, and then this low right here was exactly, so we had a high of 497, then on exactly 113 we had a 339 open. We went to the high of 380, and we dropped from 380 back to 319. That volatility on the close was at 364. It's very clear on 114. We slightly gapped down a couple of dollars on the open at 361, and then there was another huge drop on 114 down to 235. Once it hit that 235 number, that baby bounced up to 255 and closed there on 5 million shares. On 115, we opened up with a huge gap up to 280. Remember, on the 14th, the close was 255. So on 115, you had a super gap of 280. You went up to 289 and became a big short, and we dropped right down to $247 on that intraday low. Now, we closed at 281.26 on 2.5 million shares. On 116, guess what? We gapped down to 267. They ran it to the intraday high to 284. But guess what? Off of that 284 high, they shorted that thing down to 256 on the intraday low with the closing price of 277. On how many volume? 870,000 only. So now we really close at 377. On 117, we had a gap down to 267 with a 320 high, and guess what the low was? Still was 267 on a closing bell on the 17th at 293 on 1.7 million shares. Now, when we closed at 292, we had a gap open at 300 on 121. We made a high of 332. That's a $32 movement on 121. But here's what they did. That low stayed in there at 300, and the closing of that day was 326 on 1.1,970,000 shares. Here's the interesting part. From that 326 close on the 21st, we popped a big open gap on the 22nd, and we did. And when we popped that gap, that was a great move, once again, to the upper end of the price channels. So when we start getting into 128 at 289, 312, 287, volume started contracting. And it did. And these are all of these daily readings right here within this rectangular consolidation. One of the things that I want to make very clear was that this distribution bar right here, I'm going to draw a trend line right here. That's the high of that daily bar. That was a 3, 4, and on the 5th day, we went down in this rectangular consolidation compared to the big breakout one here. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing is that options are tradable. There is not going to be another stock as of right now that's going to have the super price ranges and volatility. And yes, don't let it intimidate you, but rather take it on as a challenge and get the open, the high, the low, the close, and the price action volume put in there. Most people will never be able to withstand that volatility. One of the things I would like to tell people was that on 2-7, that's right here, that low opened up right there at 301, and the high, $352. That was a $50 breakout intraday. Had 500 shares, that's 25 grand. Or 50,000 shares, I mean, you had 50,000 profit, on 1,000 shares. This was the top end. It definitely, within the price volatility, is clearly a reversal that's in play right here now. So, we're going to take a look at another day. On 212, we opened at 368. We went to the intraday high of 388, but guess what happened? From 388, bam, we went down to 265, and we did, and that was on 212. So the 213 move, though, however, 368 was the previous day's close. On the 13th, guess what? We went from the opening bar of 363 to 377 and 363, but we closed at 366. And here's what happened on Friday now. Friday, we had an extreme move. That trade opened at 367. Now, that Friday high right here was 373. But then the big short came into play, and the low of that daily bar was 342 and a closing hook at 346 on 547,000 shares. Now, they've got a major product pipeline and things to do with the liver and many other things. You can go to their website and you can get fully updated on Intercept Pharmaceuticals. It is the strongest stock on a 400, and a lot of people made money on that. SAC Capital, they made $361 million on that. And back over here, this is where the stock was, and it was range bound. And we have all the price patterns. Before they ever had the announcement, you would get daily breakouts, and you would. And the big fellows trade it, so does the SMF. That's us. And you had great shorts from the highs over here back in calendar 2013. And then, guess what? Once again, we had a big See what happens with these 5-day rectangular consolidations? You break down on those or you break higher. Let this be a reference to the new MMTs and weekly consolidations. We call them Big Daddy from what? Cincinnati. So basically, we are just going to go through here and say that this is the best stock right now on the planet because there isn't another stock that provides those kind of intraday ranges at all. Not Google, not Priceline, not on an intraday range. The only way that Google or Priceline is compared to prices is on an earnings report. This thing doesn't have no earnings right now they're reporting, and this is that intraday action. Get on board, get with this now, and let us not forget that you can make a fortune if done right. You would have to understand this though, and I'm going to tell you up front. These options right here pay a lot of money, and you need to know that these options on a weekly, we're going to have a monthly right now. That's this one right here. And I'm going to show the kind of price volatility. I'm going to show what a 360 call is for the 5-day ranges. They were down. It's an intraday trade only. $11.12. We're going to be all over this for the next 5 days starting on Tuesday. That's a 4-day trading week. So we're going to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we're going to be looking at that. And we're going to look for the best intraday move that one can get its hands on, whether it's the call side or better yet, what about this one? What about the opposite end? What about a 340 put in case of on an intraday level now? On an intraday level. That put option right here, as you can see, that put option had a $6, it had 0.64, 13.23. The low was 9. It closed at 680. High was 1350. So there are various different option spreads that one can use to trade this volatility, and boy, does it have a lot of it. So once again, to Johnny and Tommy, you got to know, as you've been trained, and tell your guys what to do is to focus on this middle half bar and focus on that 10-day simple moving average. That's going to be that lower support. It's going to be right above $320 as far as that support level if we are to sell down. And part of this movement over here, that's the high, the last high. Now, ironic enough, that last high was 387. Oh yeah, it was. Not only that, that was $100 lower than the all-time 52-week high or the 52-week high in 2014, because that's exactly when it happened. So, once again, how do I trade a volatile stock with intraday price movement that every market maker and or institutional or hedge fund manager would ever want on this planet? It's this one. There isn't any other one that has this kind of intraday dollar price movement in the greater common denominator value.